I've been secretly scheming to get my hesitant wife Sandy to accompany me as I bag yet another trailless peak. My seemingly inexhaustible New Hampshire 3,000 footer list awaited. Squeezing in any time in our already overcrowded schedule would be my first and most difficult obstacle. I drew out a calendar. What peak could we reach and safely conquer on a Sunday afternoon? Searching through my list of New Hampshire 3,000 footers, it was clear that the choices were very limited. Mullen Hill, the relatively short bushwhack and little elevation gain, made this option attractive. I had confidence, perhaps overconfidence, that we could make it. Well, Sunday morning came along, and I finally announced that we would go for a drive together and then go for a short walk. Sandy must have been in a romantic mood, or perhaps she didn't understand what I was proposing, or perhaps it was just one of those lapses in her judgment. But she went along with the idea without any objection at all. I was both surprised and thrilled. It was a pretty day. The sun shone through the open sunroof. Not too hot, not too cold. Sandy made me a sandwich to eat as we drove up the highway. We took a few photographs of Big Coolidge and Whaleback from Route 93 on the bridge over the Pemmican Water. We stopped at the Visitor Center in Lincoln, New Hampshire. Sandy used the restroom there to transform herself from a woman dressed in her Sunday's finest to, well, a homeless person looking for a handout. Soon we were back on our way up the highway. Turning towards the Cog Railway Station onto Jefferson Notch Road, Mount Washington stood erect directly ahead of us, just as impressive as always. Several somewhat contradictory signs flanked the entrance to Jefferson Notch Road. One read in large capital letters simply, "Road closed." Another read, "Road not maintained in winter." As I turned off the pavement onto a narrow one-lane gravel road. Somehow I had remembered this road being much better than it really was. It was much worse shaped than I had remembered. A sharp, deep gully was washed out on the right, waiting to permanently trap one of my tiny tires, never to get out. At least a dozen times a live spruce tree had fallen during the winter, and a section of its trunk, just wide enough for the car to fit through, had been removed. Both Sandy and I were impressed. When we reached the trailhead, there were many other cars already parked there. The view of Jefferson and Washington from the parking lot is truly dramatic. We quickly saw the need to splash on some DEET. Sandy realized that she would need long-sleeve shirt, and I covered my exposed legs. She placed a floppy red bandana over her curly hair. I draped the cord of a compass around Sandy's neck and proceeded to give her a first lesson on orienteering. We headed into the trailless woods. Progress was slower, much slower than I had expected. Along the way, we encountered a most difficult section of blowdowns. Sandy became justifiably upset with me in the situation that I had led her into. I was disappointed that I had misjudged the terrain, now realizing that the ridge was very difficult going and not at all what I had expected. Sandy strongly encouraged me to give our situation some reconsideration. I realized that we would soon consume all of our time and energy if we pursued this route much further. We walked directly up to the summit, avoiding a few impenetrably thick areas. Sandy raced ahead of me to admire the view of Mount Washington. I stumbled around looking for the summit register. When I finally reached her, she was standing on a blowdown with the bottle a few feet behind her. She had walked by without spotting it. I kidded her by telling her that I had given up the search for the bottle, as I slowly directed her attention to it only a couple of feet away. We enjoyed some refreshments there. The sun was shining brightly and a slight breeze was welcome. Our company of black flies never left us. I tried to take a few photos of my uncooperative Sandy. I really wanted to capture what she looked like. My Sandy asked innocently, "Okay, how do we find our way back?" She did amazingly well, following my lead and keeping up with my pace through the still challenging woods. At one point, we had an excellent visual sighting of the Jefferson Notch area, and further, the top of Jefferson made a reliable landmark. We managed to avoid most of the blowdowns and keep up a solid pace. The air smelt like Christmas trees. Moose tracks were scattered everywhere on the forest floor. Somewhat amazingly, when we had reached the road, the bright yellow mass of my sports car sat directly ahead of us. We were the last car in the parking lot. Sandy was in a hurry to get out of those grubby clothes and to get into some clean ones. I laughed as I enjoyed watching her change as she quickly looked around to see if anyone else was around. A minute later, she was a bit surprised to realize that she had bushwhacker's legs, multiple scratches. She showed them off to me and threatened to expose me as a wife abuser. The sun was still high. The snowfields on the side of Jefferson and Washington glowed white. Active black flies now gathered around us and filled the car. We quickly and carefully headed down. We headed down a couple miles and stumbled upon a small family-style restaurant, Barbara's Little Restaurant. My Sandy excitedly dragged me in through the front door only a minute before they scheduled to close. We shared a cheesecake dessert. The food was good and the service was excellent. We ate on an enclosed patio where we watched the sun slowly sink below a red horizon. We were both stuffed when we left. That evening I drove home slowly, holding Sandy's hand.